Hey there guys, I'm Jesse Crow, the traveling scientist here in quarantine in Perth, Australia, and it's day 11. I'm getting so close, only a few more days left. Tomorrow I get another COVID test, which is going to come back negative. The next day I pack, and then the next day I'm out of here. So I've only got a few more stories left to tell you guys, and it's going to be good. Hi guys, thanks for joining. Yesterday I was telling the story of how I wound up in Revelstoke with no job, with nowhere to live, with no friends, and I ended up finding a job and finding a place to live and finding a cool group of friends, getting into rock climbing and having an awesome summer. That was yesterday's story. You can check that out on Instagram TV and YouTube. Today I'm going to be telling the story of what happened after summer and how we had a little bit of lull with not much to do and how I ended up going paragliding off Mount Mackenzie in Revelstoke. I solo paraglided off that mountain several times, which was insane, and I still can't believe that happened. But it was a bizarre turn of events. I'm going to tell you that story in just a second. First, I want to tell you about a phone call that I got like 20 minutes ago. The hotel room phone started ringing, and I was like, that's interesting. So I answered it, and she was like, hi, I just talked with catering and it's $4. And I was like, what's $4? And they're like, 2 pieces of toast, $4. And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry, I called the wrong room. I was like, no worries, have a lovely day. And she was like, I'm sorry, see you later. It was really funny, really random. I got a phone call yesterday from the doctor and she was like, hi Jesse, how are you going in quarantine? And I said, I'm bloody fantastic, how are you? And she's like, no one's ever asked me that on the phone before. I'm good, thanks. You know, it's really funny. Get some random phone calls in here and just be super friendly about it. It's good. You really surprise people by being nice on the phone. Try it sometime. Anyway, boring phone calls aside, let me tell you what happened next in Canada. So I've been going live every day, 11 o'clock West Australia, 1 p.m. East Australia, 8 p.m. in Pacific time, and 4 a.m. in the United Kingdom. I've been going live every day telling stories about my last 3-year adventure around America and Canada. And today we're talking about after summer in Revelstoke. Basically, it started to get wet and cold. You couldn't really go rock climbing anymore. Didn't want to go swimming anymore. Work was getting a bit quiet. We closed down for a while and there was not much to do. So we're just sitting around waiting for the snow season to start. But I always noticed there was paragliders up in the sky and it looked freaking incredible. And one day, someone I knew who paraglided, just out of nowhere. I'd expressed interest previously. I told them that I'd love to go paragliding, but they never responded. So I figured they didn't want to take me. One day out of the blue, he just comes up and says, Jesse, do you want to go paragliding? And I was like, yes. Sounds incredible. He doesn't talk much. He just said, all right, meet me here at this time, this place. I was like, sweet. Awesome, that's happening. Going paragliding. So the next day, I rocked up, the right time, the right place, thinking, oh, he's going to take me in his parachute. We're going to jump off the side of the mountain. We're going to see some incredible views, and it'll be really nice. And, you know, we got there, and out of the back of the car, he pulls this big backpack, and he's like, there's your parachute. I was like, what, you mean our parachute? And he was like, no, this is for you. You're going solo. And I was like, is that safe? And he was like, well, I'm going to teach you how to do it. If you do it right, it's safe. If you do it wrong, you die. Okay. So we lay the parachute out and get strapped in. And, you know, normally, well, not normally, but sometimes when you're paragliding, you lift it up into the air and you get the air going through the chute and you get ready and then you take off. But that takes a little bit of practice. G'day Hamish, just telling the story of how I ended up paragliding in Revelstoke. Yes, normally you get the parachute up in the air and you get it steady and then you take off. But that takes a bit of practice, a bit of time, a bit of training. Apparently we didn't have that time. He said, if you want to go paragliding, we're going to teach you right now. So there's another way to start paragliding. It's called the running start. You strap into the parachute and you run. You run for your life. And if it works, you take off and you start flying. And if you do it wrong, you die. That's what he kept saying to me. So I strapped the parachute on, we're on a big empty field, and I'd run through the field, and the parachute would lift up, and then it would be flying over my head. And if I was jumping off something, then I would take off. Or I would start running, and then the parachute would try and lift up and then collapse. And then my educator would just shout out, if you do that up there, you die. If you do it wrong, you die. You're doing it wrong. And I had like a 50% success rate. You know, half the time I could get the parachute up, and half the time the parachute would go back down, and he'd shout at me, you're dead. And then he's like, all right, I gotta go do some stuff. You keep practicing, I'll come back later. So here's me in a field by myself in the middle of nowhere with a parachute, practicing something I don't really know how to do, just running up and down the field with like a 50% success rate. Sometimes I could get the parachute up and sometimes I couldn't. I did that for a couple of hours, and then he comes back and he's like, all right, let's go, taking up the mountain. And so we get in this, I think we did a couple more practices. He watched me. I think he watched me one success and one failure, and he's like, you'll be fine. And then we're driving up the hill. And while we're driving up the hill, this is when he starts teaching me all the ins and outs of paragliding. You know, how to steer, you know, what to do after you actually take off, how to land, kind of important. And about the safety parachute. What happens if everything goes wrong? There's this little parachute strapped to your stomach, a second parachute, which is like your life. It's like, this is your life. If something goes wrong, pull on this. And that's pretty scary. Like, I was looking at this little parachute like it was actually everything that I knew my whole life was in this little parachute. And, you know, next minute we're up the top of the hill and I'm strapped in, ready to go. This is after 2 hours of training and no education on how paragliding works. And I'm standing there waiting in the wind, and the wind's not right. So I'm just standing there, nervous, scared, waiting, holding the parachutes behind me, waiting for the wind to get right. Waiting 5 minutes, 10 minutes, nothing's happening. And I was just sweating bullets. And then all of a sudden, the wind came good. And you got to take the opportunity. You don't muck around. The wind came good. And this is where all my practice comes into place. And he just goes, run, 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 run. And you just got to commit. And you just start sprinting towards off the hill. And I was just running with all my mind, pulling and everything, trying to pull everything that I'd practiced together. And then all of a sudden I was flying by myself, 1,000 feet in the air, 2,000 feet above the air, looking down over the trees. And he had a walkie-talkie and he was telling me what to do. Now, steer left, steer right. And then all of a sudden he says, now let go. And I was like, no. And he's like, yeah, you let go with your hands and it steers itself better. So then I just let go. And it just kind of feels like it feels like you're sitting in a chair, but the chair is flying and you just look around and it's just like space, so much space between you and the earth. And it's like really far down. It was incredible. The feeling was insane. And so I flew around in a few circles, started to steer, practice steering, and came down into landing, and I overshot the runway, and it's called splashdown. The runway is called splashdown because if you miss the runway, it's just surrounded by water. Luckily, it was low tide. The dam had let all the water out, so I landed in some really long grass. Landing was fine, way better than I expected, and then picked up my parachute and walked back to the landing strip. And he was like, "You did great. You didn't die. Do you want to do it again tomorrow?" And I was like, okay. Next day, same thing. Back to the field, couple more hours practicing running up and down. Drive back up the hill again. And again, we're just standing up there waiting for the wind to come good. And then again, it happens and I'm still super nervous because there's like, if you do it wrong, it picks you up and throws you down and you die or you go to the hospital. I didn't have any health insurance at that time as well, so, you know, freaking out. And again, the wind comes good, and you're like, run, 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 run. So you just start running with all your might. And got lucky again, lifted off, had another incredible flight, missed the runway again, and just landed. And then I got back and he was like, "G'day, Beck." Picked the parachute up and wow, it's just incredible. Just flying, it's so peaceful out there. And you're just flying and just kind of chilling. Like, yeah, I just jumped off the side of a mountain. And then I landed and he was like, "Great, 2 good flying attempts. Do you want to do it again tomorrow?" And honestly, I was like, "No, I don't." There was just so much stress and fear in doing it that I couldn't do it again. Not to say that I'll never paraglide again. I would love to do some more paragliding. It was such an incredible experience, and thank you so much to the people that helped me do that. But I'm gonna need a little more practice and a little more training and security before I throw myself off the side of a mountain again, by myself. So anyway, that was the story of how I ended up solo paragliding twice. Cost me $50, I think. Normally when you go paragliding, you have to spend thousands of dollars and you have to do weeks of training. And I just knew the right person and probably did it in an unsafe manner, but it was free and it was freaking awesome. And would I do it again? Hell yes. Anyway, I actually made a video all about it. If you want to check it out, I'm going to link to it in my Instagram bio and also on my YouTube channel. It's called Face Your Fears and Live Your Life, because that's what we should all be striving to do. Get out there, do something crazy, do something that scares you, feels good, and makes life really worth living. Anyway, that was what happened. That's how I got paragliding. That was a crazy story. Tomorrow I'm going to tell the story of how I ended up getting Revelstoke for another snow season, how I nearly ended up going to Japan, but that sort of fell through, and what ended up happening with my minivan, Vanessa. I drove it around America and Canada for over 2 years, and something pretty interesting ended up happening with that van, and I'm going to tell you all about that tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining me today, guys. I really hope you're around tomorrow, same time, 11 a.m. on West Australian time, 1 p.m. East Australian time, 8 p.m. Pacific time, and 4 a.m. if you're in the United Kingdom and you can't sleep. That's going to be tomorrow's story. Only a few more stories left, guys. I'm nearly out of quarantine. It's day 11. I'm feeling pretty good about it. But yeah, check out that video, Face Your Fears, Live Your Life, and, do something crazy today. Scare yourself. Be brave, and thanks for joining me today live. I hope to see you all again, same time tomorrow. Cheers, legends. Bye.